Hi, I'm Bakhtiar Sanov. You are watching A News, and let's see the headlines. French President Emmanuel Macron says he will remain in office until the end of his term and appoint a new prime minister in the coming days. The strategic city of Hama has fallen to Syrian rebels, marking a significant blow to the President Bashar al-Assad's government. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a warning to the West, saying Moscow is ready to take extreme measures to prevent a strategic defeat in Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron says he will remain in office until the end of his mandate. This comes as there have been calls for him to step down following a no-confidence vote that led to Prime Minister Michel Barnier's resignation on Thursday.
French President Emmanuel Macron reaffirms he will not be stepping down before the end of his term in 2027. These remarks come following a no-confidence vote by the National Assembly that brought down the French government. Macron says the opposition is to blame for the current political situation and calls for the far-right and far-left that supported the no-confidence vote anti-Republican.
The mandate you democratically gave me is a 5-year mandate, and I will carry it out fully until the end. We cannot allow ourselves to be divided or do nothing. That's why I'll name a prime minister in the coming days. I will ask them to form a government in the general interest, representing all the political parties who can participate in it, or at least who agree not to bring it down.
Prime Minister Michel Barnier handed in his resignation on Thursday at the Élysée Presidential Palace. The no-confidence vote comes after Barnier bypassed Parliament to pass the Social Security budget. Barnier's actions were met with opposition from both the far-right and far-left, who collectively voted to topple his government.
If the next Prime Minister implements the measures for which we were prepared, such as overturn of retirement at the age of 64, increase in minimum wages and salaries, then we will support them. Otherwise, we will fight them.
Meanwhile, thousands of people protested in Paris over tough working conditions and budget cuts to public service on Thursday. The protests followed the proposition by the Prime Minister to cut billions of euros, including measures such as increasing unpaid sick leave for civil servants from 1 to 3 days.
Even if what happened with the government yesterday happened, we cannot think the fight is won. Quite the opposite. The fight is in the street and we need to mobilize all together, otherwise we will never win anything. The working conditions of people in hospitals are catastrophic, so we really need to mobilize today and tomorrow.
Many hope that the new Prime Minister will bring desired changes.
The political situation in South Korea remains tense after President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed attempt to impose martial law. Ongoing protests demand his impeachment, escalating the crisis.
Protests in South Korea persist, calling for President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment after his failed attempt to impose martial law. The crisis deepens with military involvement and accusations against lawmakers, intensifying pressure on Yoon's leadership. Protesters, led by labor unions like the Korean Federation of Trade Unions, continue to demand President's impeachment, carrying slogans condemning his martial law as a betrayal of democracy. Ruling party leader Han Dong-hoon revealed Yoon had ordered the arrest of politicians deemed anti-state forces during the martial law period, further complicating the crisis. South Korea's Special Warfare Commander Kwak Jung-kyun stated he would refuse any future martial law orders. He also revealed that the former defense minister had ordered the military to forcibly remove lawmakers voting against the martial law declaration. The president's decree temporarily granted military control, banning protesters and political actions. He accused the opposition Democratic Party of acting against the state and supporting North Korea. The decree was reversed within hours after public outcry.
Pro-EU protesters held another rally in Georgia, marking the 8th day of the demonstrations. Hundreds of people have converged on Georgia's parliament again to protest the ruling Georgian Dream Party's decision to suspend talks on joining the European Union. Demonstrators gathered outside the parliament building in the capital Tbilisi, blocking the Rustaveli Avenue. They were calling for the resignation of the government in addition to holding new parliamentary elections. Fewer protesters gathered compared to previous days. The protests erupted after the government decided to hold the EU accession talks, as well as renouncing any funding from the bloc until 2028. Meanwhile, Abkhazia, Georgia's breakaway region, warns about severe economic issues after Russia ceased providing financial aid. Local authorities say remaining funds are being redirected to purchase electricity from Russia. Financial officials warn that salary payments will soon be unfeasible. Abkhazia's economic troubles began in September when Russia halted financial support, citing Abkhazia's failure to align its local laws for deeper integration with Moscow. The rebels have taken control of Hama following the recent victory in Aleppo, Syria. Opposition forces claim they have successfully driven the Syrian military out of Hama, marking another milestone in their rapid advance across the north.
The capture of Hama happens just days after rebels seized the northern city of Aleppo and pushed south from their stronghold in northwest Syria. Opposition forces claim they ousted the Syrian military from Hama in their latest victory during a rapid advance across the country's north. The Syrian army, however, states that it redeploys outside the city to preserve civilian lives and prevent urban combat. This marks a significant blow to President Bashar Assad and his allies. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres calls on all those with influence to help the long-suffering people of Syria and reminds all parties of their obligation under international law to protect civilians.
Now, this latest offensive was launched into government-controlled areas by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a group sanctioned by the Security Council, along with a broad range of other armed opposition groups. It has led to significant shifts in the front lines, and tens of thousands of civilians are at risk in a region already on fire. We are seeing the bitter fruits of a chronic collective failure of previous de-escalation arrangements to produce a genuine nationwide ceasefire or a serious political process to implement Security Council resolutions.
Turkey's National Security Council, led by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, expresses strong support for Syria's unity and stability. The Council pledges to fight terror groups threatening both Syria and Turkey, calls for peace through reconciliation between the Syrian government and opposition forces.
كونوا كحزب الله إلى جانب سوريا.
Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem also states that his group will stand alongside Syria to thwart the goals of this aggression.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has issued a warning to the West. He says Moscow is ready to take extreme measures to prevent a strategic defeat in Ukraine. In an interview with U.S. journalist Tucker Carlson, Lavrov discussed Russia's military strategy and the ongoing support from the West to Ukraine. He clarified that Moscow views Western intervention as a direct challenge to its security. Lavrov also responded to Western claims that Russia lacks red lines, reiterating that Moscow's boundaries are clear and any further crossing of them could have serious consequences.
The United States and the allies of the United States, who also provide this long-range weapons to the Kiev regime, they must understand that we would be ready to use any means not to allow them to succeed in what they call strategic defeat of Russia. So the message which we wanted to sell by testing in real action this hypersonic system is that we will be ready to do anything to defend our legitimate interests.
Taiwan's leader Lai Ching-do has warned China to refrain from provocative actions as tensions escalate in the region. His remarks come ahead of expected Chinese military drills in response to his recent visits to Pacific and the United States.
As military tensions continue to rise, Taiwan's leader Lai Ching-do has called for China to unclench its fists. His comments follow China's sanctioning U.S. companies involved in arms sales to Taiwan, as Beijing views any foreign interaction with Taiwan as a challenge to its sovereignty. Lai's recent visits to U.S. territories, including Hawaii and Guam, have particularly angered Beijing. Security sources indicate that China is expected to launch another round of military exercises in response to Lai's trip to the Pacific. Despite China's objections, Lai emphasized that Taiwan would not be deterred in its pursuit of international engagement. In response, China has ramped up the number of military exercises near Taiwan, including war games in May and October, further inflaming tensions. Chinese officials continue to assert Taiwan is part of China and warn the U.S. not to interfere in what they consider internal matters.
In Brazil, hundreds of people took to the streets in Sao Paulo to protest police brutality. This comes after videos of alleged misconduct and violence surfaced.
A demand for justice. Hundreds of demonstrators filled the streets of Sao Paulo in Brazil to voice their concerns over the recent cases of police brutality. This comes after questionable footage of the military police surfaced, giving rise to allegations of misconduct and violence. Protesters expressed frustration over the common occurrence of such cases.
Even if what happened was the government yesterday happened, we cannot think the fight is won, quite the opposite. The fight is in the street and we need to mobilize all together, otherwise we will never win anything. The working conditions of people in hospitals are catastrophic, so we really need to mobilize today and tomorrow.
Recent incidents of police brutality in Brazil include one in which a policeman pushed a young black man off a bridge. Another involved an off-duty policeman who shot a man dead for allegedly stealing soap from a market. The protesters demand punishment for the officers involved and call for the military police to be demilitarized.
We really need our voices to be heard. We need to fight more and more. We need to take to the streets to expose the police, which are so violent in the states of Sao Paulo and in Brazil.
The demonstrators are calling for the resignation of the commander of the Public Security Secretariat of Sao Paulo. Brazilian police authorities are yet to respond.
To United States, where reports indicate activities executed a warrant for a New York City location. This after the New York Police Department released photos of the suspect in the fatal shooting of United Health CEO. Brian Thompson was gunned down Wednesday morning outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel. Police call it a brazen and targeted attack.
The attack happened on a Manhattan sidewalk in New York. Brian Thompson was gunned down outside the Hilton Hotel on 6th Avenue. This occurred just as the United Health's annual investor conference was set to begin.
I hear the 3 shots. I was parking down there in the car. I hear 3 shots. Yeah, and then when I looked, there's a man down. Yeah. And then the guy crossed and then he ran. He's a white male, all in black, with a backpack. He crossed this way. That ought to see.
We were over here working in the University Club Hotel, and then we were outside and we heard some shots rang off, and then we ran over here and police were here in seconds.
Despite being rushed to a nearby hospital, a 50-year-old executive succumbed to his injuries. The incident, along with the suspect's movements before and after the shooting, were captured on multiple security cameras in the area. Police released surveillance images of the suspect, who wore a hooded jacket and mask that blended in on a cold winter's day. Some photos show him at a Starbucks shortly before the shooting. Authorities describe the attack as a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted assault.
This does not appear to be a random act of violence. The victim was in New York City to speak at an investor conference. It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf.
Investigators are trying to identify the masked gunman who killed the executive of one of the largest US health insurance companies. The NYPD continues to search for the suspect, offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. United Health serves millions of Americans. The company has also been grappling with a significant data breach in its Change Healthcare division. This has disrupted patient services and delayed payments to providers. The incident happened just hours before the city's iconic Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Rockefeller Center, which proceeded as planned under heavy security.
Italian nun Anna Donnelly was arrested in Milan for allegedly helping the 'Ndrangheta, one of Italy's most notorious mafia organizations. The arrest is part of a larger investigation into the criminal group's activities across Italy. She is accused of using her role as a volunteer at San Vittore prison to facilitate communication between imprisoned mafia members and the external operations of the syndicate. The investigation led to the arrest of 25 other individuals, including mafia affiliates and local politicians, and the seizure of assets worth over 1.8 million euros. This mafia group is involved in drug trafficking, money laundering, and arms dealing. Drone deliveries are becoming a more popular way of handing people their online orders. In Italy, e-commerce giant Amazon performed a test flight with a new MK-30 drone, a highly automated system equipped with cutting-edge computer vision technology.
Announced that it had successfully conducted its initial test of delivery drones in Italy. The country becomes the first in Europe where the e-commerce giant plans to introduce this service. The test took place in San Salvo, a town in Italy's central Abruzzo region. Amazon stated for launching the service next year, they need to continue to collaborate with Italian authorities to fulfill all necessary requirements. The company had previously indicated plans to roll out drone deliveries in both Italy and Britain by late 2024. Amazon's Prime Air drone delivery service is currently operational in select areas of Texas and Arizona in the US. According to the company representative, it is gradually expanding.
Domestically produced Togg was once again the best-selling electric vehicle brand in the Turkish market in November, well ahead of its foreign competitors in sales such as Tesla, BMW and Mercedes. Local EV maker Togg sold 4,200 cars last month, when the EV market in the country expanded by 21% year-on-year to 13,500. Togg's share in the total EV sales was 32%. Tesla came second with 1,860 sales, while BMW sold 1,460 EVs, ranking third in November. In the first 11 months, Togg delivered a total of 24,360 cars, which made the company the market leader in the EV segment. Its share in the EV sales was 29%. A 161.5 square meter Hereke carpet gifted to the Peace Palace in The Hague during the Ottoman era has been restored in Aksaray and is now back in the Netherlands. The restoration was carried out as part of the protocol between the Carnegie Foundation, which manages the Peace Palace, and Turkey's Ministry of Culture and Tourism.
The carpet, weighing 700 kilograms, was delivered to Aksaray Museum in May last year and later taken to Sultan Hamid district, known for its expertise in carpet restoration. The work was completed by an 8-person team over the course of 1 year. The restoration process involved 8 stages, including archival research, damage assessment, and traditional dye-in techniques. Experts divided the carpet into 280 sections to identify 15 damaged areas which were repaired using threads dyed to match the original colors. After the restoration, the carpet was carefully packed in a wooden frame and loaded onto a truck, which was ceremonially sent to the Netherlands from Sultan Hani.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for joining us and keep watching A News.